And I think it should be live, maybe. Yep. All right, we are live. This is Stone Guy 223. Appreciate everybody tuning in. We'll do some quick introductions. From my left, we've got our special guest tonight, Daniel. Oh,
I don't think he's
Daniel.
here right now.
Oh, he must have stepped away. Shit, I'm sorry. I don't have my camera on, so. Um, and he didn't put an AFK in the side chat, but we'll come back to him. So then next to him, we've got Gun Websites.
Hey, thanks for the invite.
Oh yeah, appreciate you joining up. Um, and then Kelly.
Hi, I'm Kelly M, and I still consider myself very new to guns. September 22nd will be my 1-year gun anniversary, so I'm trying to learn everything I can, everywhere I can.
Awesome. This will be a good chat for you. Then we've got the Tack Daddy.
What's up, everybody? What are we talking about tonight?
It's gonna be training chat, but Daniel's gonna start it off when we get through introduction. He just took a course, and so it's kind of give him an opportunity to tell us about it, maybe pick his brain about some different things. So that should spawn some good conversation anyway. But and then next to the Tack Daddy, we've got Sully.
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
What's happening? And then we've got the Glock Guru.
What's up? Thanks for the invite.
Oh yeah. All right, now Daniel, are you back?
Yeah, what's up?
All right. So Daniel, do you have a channel name?
No, it's just me.
Okay, just Daniel. So anyway, well, now that we got through the formality of introductions, tonight's chat's going to be about training classes, different aspects of training, and primarily because Daniel had just finished a training class, so we'll give him an opportunity to kind of tell us about it, and then maybe do a Q&A or ask him some different things we may be curious about. So anyway, Daniel, I'll let you kind of jump in, tell us what you took, go from there.
All right, so I took the Graham Combat 3-day pistol and carbine combatives course in Oak Harbor, Washington, probably about an hour and a half north of Seattle. And it's basically just kind of, basic pistol carbine fundamentals. We did a lot of transitions, close quarter combat stuff, vehicle, in and around vehicles. I got to shoot through the vehicle, under the vehicle, and around the vehicle, that kind of thing. And he has a very different teaching style from what I've seen from like videos of other trainers and stuff, and that's kind of why I chose to go with his class. Previously, I had only ever taken a 2-day pistol class at a local range and a long-range precision class in Florida. So I've never had any, carbine formal training. But I basically watched. I looked him. Kisan told me about him, right? And I looked him up on YouTube. Watched a couple of videos. They have videos of a couple of video series of him, like, little clips of him teaching and stuff like that. And then his style is very different. It's very like learning and teaching instead of just kind of instructing and teaching you a specific technique. He'll start you from the base principles and then walk you up to the techniques and tactics that you use to implement that. So.
Right on. So it was a 3-day class, you said, right?
3-day class. First day was all pistol. Second day was still a lot of pistol, but introducing the carbines. We did a lot, and then it did a lot more carbines that day. Third day was kind of putting it all together and then doing like scenarios like extreme close quarters, like inside your house, and in and around vehicles and stuff.
Okay, cool.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah,
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was wondering, with the in and around the vehicles, did he have you doing the exercise where, like, you were a passenger and you were trying to protect your driver from somebody that's coming at you from the driver's side at all, or were you just basically?
So we did. So we didn't do that, right? We did 2 people, driver, passenger, and there's two targets in front of you. You either we had one where you shoot directly through the windshield, and then we had one where you kick open the door, basically stabilize yourself on the frame, push your gun out beyond the door, and then shoot.
Oh,
So
very
you
cool.
were actually inside the vehicle shooting out.
Yeah, so they basically towed out two junkyard cars, and I got to be the first one to shoot out of the windshield on one of them.
Oh, nice. So did they,
Yeah.
as part of that, did they kind of go over with you how to manipulate your firearm inside a vehicle as to not sweep or shoot your leg or feet, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so basically, like, here's my Glock, right? Right. If this is the steering wheel here, you basically, you draw, you extend it out a little bit, and then you index your gun over the steering wheel so you don't kind of jam it into the steering wheel and put it around into your leg.
Right.
Hmm.
So first day pistol, all pistol.
Yeah. So
Second day?
second day, yeah, pistol and carbine, and third day is like everything. And
So what other type of people were in the class with you?
so I was probably, I would think I was the youngest, right? I'm 24. There was my shooting partner for the majority of the class was a 58-year-old psychologist with a bad back. And there were a couple other people. Two of the people had been there for like 6 previous classes. Like they take the same class over and over again. And
Hold on a second.
No,
Can I jump in?
Yeah.
If you say to me, the shit has hit the fan, pick your least likely partner that you want to go run and gun with, I would tell you. It's like a 58-year-old psychologist with a bad back.
It just happened to work out that way.
I'm sure it was fine, but that's funny.
I was going to say it could have been a 47-year-old housewife that's only been shooting for a year. That would be even worse. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
With a bad back.
Yeah, I mean, there were two former firefighters. I think one of them's still active, but they had never had any previous formal training ever, right? So you had to basically, yeah, and then you had people like we had one guy out of the Air Force. He was like 18, 20 years in the Air Force, something like that. Just a wide variety of people. We didn't have any women, however, in the class.
That's
So that was
too
one.
bad.
Yeah, that was one thing that we were missing.
So
It was funny though, because the first day of the class, like after probably like maybe an hour or two after we got out to the range, Matt Graham comes up to me. He's like, when I said I wanted a tight little Asian, I wasn't expecting you.
oh, nice.
To which I said, I was like, 77 virgins or 777-year-old virgins. He's like, get out of here.
So we've had a few more people join us in our viewing audience. So real quick, give me the name of the class again.
It's the 3-day pistol and carbine combatives course.
And who puts it on? Who's the instructor?
Matthew Graham.
Matthew
He's
Graham.
You want to talk about his background?
Yeah, I mean, I
first-
don't remember everything, right? But wait, what's that guy?
I was gonna say before we go there, let's do because I think Tac Daddy put that up. The number, like total cost for the class, and then total number of rounds, and then the average class size. I think that'd be a good.
So his classes are small. He teaches 3 to 4 of these pistol and rifle classes per year. He spends the rest of his time, about 40 weeks out of the year, I think, teaching DoD people, different units and stuff. So the class itself is $650. Range fees for the 3 days at the range we were at was $50, so $700. You need 1,000 rounds each, pistol and carbine. However much that costs for you guys. I made all my ammo.
Damn, so that's a lot of pistol. That's nice.
I brought 2,600 rounds, and I shot probably 2,200 of them at the class.
Nice. So basically $700 bucks, 1,000 rounds pistol, 1,000 rounds carbine.
Yep. And then airfare and hotel for whatever, airfare, hotel, gas, that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
His drills are set up so you can shoot as many rounds as you want per drill. Right, he'll basically give you he'll give out 10-15 minutes for this drill, and then you shoot however many iterations you want. So if you don't break a lot of ammo, you can spread it out. Just won't get as much practice.
So, what is his background? Either you or it sounds like Guru may know this guy too. So, you guys
Yeah, so
want to tell us about his background, or?
So he was an air marshal, and he was telling us, like, I don't remember exactly what he's done, but I know he contracts with the DoD to teach different units, like basically teach them all this stuff to go out there and actually kill people, right? And he was telling us, like, 3 days after 9/11, he was in South America, like killing the people behind 9/11. So I mean, he's done that kind of stuff too before. And yeah, so all of it. So the reason why people take his class multiple times is that he doesn't just take one set of techniques and stuff, and teaches that constantly, right? He's constantly learning and evolving his skills, and learning from us and learning from the people he teaches, and basically, say, hey, trying these things out, see what works overseas and actually, is effective, and then coming back and teaching us civilians like the same techniques. So one of the things he says is that, the tactics and techniques will always change, but the principles don't, right? So he's constantly learning new things and seeing what works and what doesn't work, but then it all goes back down to the same principles for him.
Hey, Dan.
Yeah.
Does he rock a 1911? Is that true?
Yes. So he appendix carries in a modified Blade Tech holster that, like, he drilled and rebuilt for himself. He appendix carries a Nighthawk Custom 1911. Whatever model it is, it's the first model that was made, and the owner of Nighthawk just gave it to him. So he got a free $3,500 gun, which is pretty awesome. And I got to shoot it several times over the weekend. It's very nice. And he carries he carries 10-round mags in them.
Did you guys do any low light stuff?
Yeah.
How many mags does he carry? Hold on.
He carries 10 rounders.
Oh.
Yeah, before we leave 1911s too, did he say why he carries a Nighthawk, or is it just the name he wants to have the prestige of having an expensive name and that's all he cares about?
So he's not a gear guy, right? He doesn't really care about, like, he's not a gear guy. You ask him, like, what's his trigger or what's this brand or whatever, it doesn't really matter to him, right? He just wants something that works. He's of the mindset that he wants to use the same set of basic skills to operate any gun, right? So he's going to use what he's issued, and what he happens to be issued an LWRC rifle for work, and that he appendix carries his 1911. I can't remember why he chose 1911, but he got it for free, so I think that's why he uses that.
10 round mags. That thing sticks out a solid inch.
Yeah, I mean, but he's a big. I mean, you look at me, right? I can't appendix carry anything, right? I can't even appendix carry a Glock. But he's a bigger guy, and it kind of, hides.
Huh. Well, I'm looking at his picture, and Stone Guy, he's got a serious beard.
Oh yeah, he's got the operator beard.
He's got the tactical beard.
You know what he looks like? I'm not going to tell you what he looks like. You go check him out.
I'll go check him out.
Legit though.
Okay, so we got the basic, we got his class, we got his background. So, Dan, you said you've taken training previously, then, huh? This wasn't your first class?
Yes, it's just a 2-day pistol class.
What's the biggest takeaway for you? Like, I mean, is it for this guy? Is it mostly fundamentals and shooting, or does he get into the mindset and philosophy of,
So what he teaches, he said this, right? He said he's not gonna tell you when to shoot. He'll never answer any question related to that, right? He's never gonna say when should you shoot. He's gonna answer the question when you have made the decision to go to guns. Here's how you use them effectively, and here's how you're gonna basically destroy the other guy. Here's how you're gonna kill your enemy. That's what he's teaching. Because for him, his ROE is different, right? For his job than as a civilian than what we have to deal with. He's not going to teach us what's what's right and what's not right, and what's legal, and what's not legal.
Keep in mind, there's a lot of lot of new listeners and panel members as well. What's ROE stand for?
Rules of engagement.
So it sounds like he doesn't really get into the psychological aspect of self-defense, or does he?
No, this is basically weapons manipulation and
Okay.
yeah, that those kind of principles. He does have a class. He has like a mnemonic. It's called a raindrop, and it's his basically is how he approaches situational awareness and environment manipulation. That's a separate class that you can take. That gets more into the mindset thing,
Right.
which I will be taking next year.
Did you deal with malfunctions, and was there any intentional malfunctioning done?
No intentional malfunctioning was done. Not like what I saw on your Florida Firearms videos, where they held the stick up to your ejection port. Nothing like that. You didn't do any of that, right? I did have malfunctions. I had my first squib load with the 9mm, right? So what happened with that was, when I fired this gun, there was no powder. Apparently, I guess there was no powder. I'm assuming there was no powder in my cartridge, and the primer went off and basically had enough juice to push the bullet into the lands. And when the gun cycled back and forward, it wouldn't go into battery. But the reason for that is because the bullet was stuck in the lands. The next case went into the chamber. It went almost enough for the slide to close, but not far enough, so the slide would never close, and it looked like my gun was failing to feed. So.
Dude, I had the same exact thing happen before. That's scary stuff, man.
Are you going to sue the person that built that ammo?
Yeah.
Are you going to sue the person responsible for that ammo?
Yeah.
Well, the fact of the matter is, that's actually probably the best scenario you could have had, where that gun was not allowed to go back in battery, because I've seen squib loads that have made it. Some squib loads you'll have where the projectile almost exits the barrel, and that's what you don't want, because especially in your situation where you're taking a training class, you're probably amped up, you're firing it, you got a lot of noise going around you, so you don't necessarily hear the sound of a squib load. And if you fire that second round, then that's when you blow up guns. But so that was actually probably the best thing that could have happened.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't even notice that I had a squib load. I was just like, why the F is my gun not, doing this thing, all that stuff, right? Why is it not working?
Yeah, and that's what I mean, like normally if you're just shooting by yourself and you get a squib load, you'll generally either hear the difference or you'll feel the difference. But in a situation where you're intense training and you got other guns going off around you, that's when squib loads become way more dangerous.
Yeah, and when it happened, he basically he basically brought everybody around and was explaining about what squib loads are and why they're bad and stuff. And then he told the story about somebody where one of the places he was at, they were issued MP5s, right, with a heavy barrel, and somehow they managed to stack 4 projectiles behind each other and not blow the barrel.
Whoa.
Which is pretty crazy.
So was there one eye-opening moment that saw it, maybe shooting through glass or posting up, on a pillar of a car? Or, what was the one, there was one thing you were like, oh, I never really realized that?
Actually, yeah, so we did all pistols, right, the first day, and the second day he started teaching us about carbines. So when he was teaching us about pistols, we started from the basics, right? We started not even just from how to grip the gun, just from how you stand, right? And the way that he taught us to stand is that he told us, feet, knees, hips, and shoulders. So your feet and everything's he stands like isosceles. He doesn't stand like Weaver, like modify Weaver or anything like that. So he taught us that if you square up to your target and you take your toes and you grip them into the ground, you're tensing your legs. Your legs are steady. Your core is tensing slightly, and then you keep your shoulders tight and your head and your nose over your toes. that creates a very stable platform for firing. And when I did that, right, when I was shooting, I was standing perfectly still. I wasn't moving back. You know how some like new people will they'll stand wrong, whatever, and as they're firing, they'll keep continually leaning back. Like that never happened to me anymore after I did that. Right, so that was one thing that I guess changed how I shoot. The second thing was, I guess there were multiple eye-opening things, right? Second thing was how I pulled the trigger. I used to always, empty gun. I used to always pull the trigger, slide comes back, and then I would let the reset come out, and that gives you a non-consistent shooting, I guess a non-consistent trigger pull, because you're not pulling the trigger the same way every time. And he also got into when you shoot other people's stuff, right? Because he said the gun you start with might not be the gun you end the fight with. When you pick up other people's stuff, if you've always learned to shoot off of reset, like on this Glock, then you pick up something like a SIG or an H&K, the reset's completely different, and you could short stroke the reset. So what he does is he'll pull the trigger, slide will come back, he'll come completely off the trigger, and then come back on and re-engage and get the same trigger pull every time. So that was another thing. So after I did that,
yeah, that's way different, man. Because I shoot off a reset too. So
he must not train a lot of YouTubers because everybody knows that we all know all the different resets and all that kind of stuff, the pulls and the poundages and all that shit.
Yeah, so like I say, he's not a gun guy. He doesn't care, right? He doesn't care about that. And after I started shooting like this, one of the last things we did was we lined up everybody's guns in a line. We got to try each other's stuff out. I shot 7, 8 different pistols, and they all felt like exactly the same because I was pulling the trigger back every single time. I didn't even really notice the difference between a SIG trigger or a Glock trigger or anything like that. It just felt like a gun to me. And probably the biggest thing about carbines that I learned is that when he teaches us to shoot, right, I'll hold my gun out like this, and he said, the thing that clicked for me was he said, what is a carbine? A carbine is basically a very long pistol, right? So if you take your normal pistol grip, which is something like this, right, and you do that with this carbine, you do like this, when you bring it back to your shoulder, you keep your support hand out, and it just naturally falls into place, and you've got the same exact consistent support hand position and shooting position as you've had with your pistol. And then
when you use isosceles, that's why it's pistol and rifle isosceles.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the same with Weaver.
I have my guns tailored to my size.
No, wait, hold on. Expand on that, G-Webs. There may be people that don't know the difference between an isosceles stance and a Weaver stance. So break that down a little bit and explain why that's important, if you don't mind.
It's not important. It's just a difference. So Weaver is where you stand askew to the target with one hand extended fully and the other hand elbow bent. And isosceles, both elbows are bent. You're more of an isosceles triangle like what he's doing. That's Weaver.
So Weaver, my strong hand shoulder holding the gun is back a little bit, and your body is kind of canted towards your target. So like, if right here is my target, this shoulder is a little bit behind my left shoulder. Therefore, this arm has to be bent slightly in order for this to go out to be fully extended. That's like a Weaver kind of shooting stance. Isosceles is when both arms are extended up, about the same.
And your chest is
squared up,
perpendicular to the target.
So after taking this class, which stance do you think you're going to be using? Are you going to stick with the Weaver, or do you think you'll be doing more of the assault voice?
So, in terms of I guess I separate the stance and grip, right? I've usually shot like a modified Weaver, which I was taught in my pistol classes, where this is my left foot and this is my right foot. My right foot slightly behind my back, my left. Now I shoot perfectly isosceles, and then my toes are basically gripping into the ground, which creates that stable platform. And then I've always shot both arms extended out equally. But now I've learned how to shoot. He taught me a way to learn how to shoot with both eyes open, because I'd always close my non-dominant eye. I'm cross-eye dominant. I'm right-handed, but left-eye dominant. So what he says is, instead of extending the gun out like this, when you extend the gun, just move it over to your left, and then you get the sight, and then I get a perfect sight picture with my left eye.
Oh, that's a good tip.
Yeah. Also for carbines, right? So what he does is, you know how some people will have like an extremely aggressive forward-leaning stance when they hold a pistol, right? You know, see those operators like instead of like standing straight up,
I
they
have
like
a more of
flip it
aggressive lean with my carbine.
and
I
completely
tend
hunched
to
over.
lean forward, not hunched, but I lean forward into my rifle. Is that not?
Yeah.
What does he say about that?
So when you're doing, knees, feet, knees, hips, and toes, right? So my feet are gripping to the ground. I'm very stable. My nose is directly over my toes. I'm leaning slightly forward, basically standing on the balls of my feet. You could basically slide like a credit card under the heels. That's basically his stance. And his entire body does not move except for his arms. That's what he does. So when he's holding on his gun or like doing manipulations and that kind of thing, only his arms are moving. His head stays perfectly straight. His body is straight up, and nothing else changes. Even for carbines, like he'll bring it back here, does like this. He basically treats the rifle like a really long pistol, and all his manipulations are exactly the same. It's consistent for him across the board. Doesn't matter what he's using.
So that's good for him, and I understand he's instructing you his thing. Was it possible for you to emulate that or do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody ended up doing that. Because like the way he said it was like you're gonna look where you want your bullets to go. Because the same thing with driving, right? You look where you want to go. You don't look at the ground, or you don't look up, or anywhere else. You look where you want to go. So when I'm looking straight at my target and I'm in my stance, right? As I extend my pistol out, my front sight will basically intercept the line from me to my target, and then that's when I shoot. So he stands perfectly straight up.
Are you left eye or right eye dominant?
Left eye dominant and right-handed.
Did he bring that up at all? Did he notice that? Did he ask about it? Was it an issue?
That's what he is. He is cross-eye dominant. So that's when he told me to basically just, instead of when I draw and bring it up here, just move it over a little bit and then extend out.
Isn't that cheating? Do you feel like you're ripping off all the left-handed shooters by doing that?
No, I still have to shoot. I still have to shoot right eye with this with a carbine.
You're not doing two eyes for that EOTech?
I am. But I can't use my left eye to look out at the EOTech when it's in my right shoulder. Like this, I can't see. I'd have to move my head over.
Sounds like you had a lot of handgun and then rifle. Was there transitions?
Yes, we learn transitions.
So was there a curriculum at the beginning, like a course of instructions? You knew what was going to be covered, or
He said he basically drew up an empty board and said, "What are the topics you guys want to learn?" And we threw out everything we wanted to learn, like just random high-level topics.
Oh, really?
Shooting fundamentals. He's basically like, he basically asked us, "What do you want to get out of the class? Like, what are you here to learn?" And then people were like, close quarters, low light, vehicle work, fundamentals, shooting other people's stuff, using different weapon systems. What else? I mean, you got communication. It was contact, break contact. What else? There's all kinds of different random topics, right? Like I said, home defense. Like I wanted to know how to use something in the context of a house, and basically writes it up on the whiteboard, and then we go out and do all this stuff. And then at the end of the class, we came back, and for each one of those points, we said, how did we address this in the class? And then after we basically explain how he addressed it and basically validated that, he would erase it off the board. So we ended up erasing all the topics because he covered everything.
So then, is that how it's described and it's in the website, that it's open like that?
I don't think so. I don't remember. It's been a while since I looked at that thing.
Okay. So then, how many people did you say were in the class? How many students?
10.
So then, what? Without being too super specific, and whoever wants to mute, you go ahead and mute. Quit breathing into it. Will how many? What kind of occupations?
Former firefighters, former Air Force, the psychologist. He was like a trucker, or he was like a logger. There was one guy who was like a logger. Yeah, that's all I remember.
What
Yeah,
kind
I
of
mean, it's
guns?
pretty much. So we had majority of them were ARs, right? We had we had a Daniel Defense, some Smith and Wesson ARs, that kind of thing. We had a guy. We had two AKs. There was a SIG AK and a I forgot the other one, right?
Wait, what? A SIG AK?
I,
I'm like,
I
what?
thought it, I thought he said it was a SIG.
Okay,
Oh,
so
it was
there is a SIG that takes AK max, but
That might be it. Yeah,
okay.
I'm pretty sure it was a SIG.
How did it handle? Did it last?
It worked. The other AK, the guy had bought some cheap buttstock and handguard off of Amazon or whatever, and they both broke by the second day of the class.
Broke from just regular use, or because you guys were using the stock to do like a drop, or
just regular use? We weren't like bashing these things anywhere or anything like that.
So
Yeah,
on that same note of failures, you had pointed out that squib that you had on your reload. Will that make you rethink using reloads for certain things, or?
well,
No.
was that your reload? Was that your bullet?
They're all. I shot all my reloads basically this weekend, and it just taught me that I need to basically watch my progressive press a little bit more, because that was one of the dangers of using a progressive press, is that you're more susceptible to having squib loads.
Well, let me
because
ask you this. You
Are
said
you concerned about your lack of concern for your own techniques?
but you said you loaded over, or you actually shot 2,200 rounds, right?
Yes.
So out of those 2,200 rounds, you only had one failure.
Yep. Out of the probably close to 8,000 rounds of 9mm I've loaded, like in total, I've had one failure.
Oh, that's pretty damn good odds.
How do you feel about your ability to discern in the chaos or the noise or whatever, the confusion of a firing line, that squib? Did that give you any kind of realization, like,
Didn't
pay
notice
more
it.
attention to your own equipment? I know, that's what I mean.
Oh yeah,
It's kind of an eye-opener sometimes. It's like, wow, I'm sitting here with this like pretty dangerous thing in my hand, and it just did something that it is not supposed to do, and I didn't even notice it. Sometimes that can be an eye-opener.
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, it got to a point where I was just standing there with it in my hand, like I took the magazine out and everything. I was like, I can't even take this apart because I can't get the slide to close, or I can't even, like that kind of thing. It was really frustrating. They ended up locking the slide back, and the guy took a screwdriver, put it through the barrel, and then smacked it on the ground.
Okay, that was my next question. Did you bring an extra gun? Did you bring extra barrel? It sounds like you just fixed the issue.
So I brought basically doubles of everything, and I also brought doubles of my ammo just in case he wasn't cool with hand loads. So I brought basically I brought about 4,000 rounds, half hand load, half factory. I brought two guns, my Glock 19 and my Walther PPQ. I brought holsters and mags for both. I also brought this AR because I was basically testing this AR because this is the custom build that I have. So I made this, right? So I didn't know if it would actually work or last the entire class. So I brought my Colt. So I brought two ARs, two guns, 4,000 rounds of ammo, all that crap.
Now, as far as the magazines and the reload, was he teaching, retain magazines, tactical reloads?
Yeah.
What was his philosophy on mag changes?
So you would do your basic, you shoot or whatever, and then you would bring your muzzle up or muzzle down or whatever you wanted to do, and then you would scan or you do the scan, and then after that you would do your tactical reload if you wanted to.
So there
What
weren't
about
any
in
fast on the
the
fly
fight
reloads?
though? What about in the fight? Like if you ran try or
In the fight, you
malfunction.
just dumped it on the ground. We just any speed what you would call a speed reload is when you go empty in your gun and you eject mag, you just let it drop to the ground, and then as you're going to get your new mag. You only retain he only retained the mags when he was doing a tactical reload.
Did he, whenever you did a scan, did he test you with like holding up stuff behind you, or?
Yeah, he would be like it was him and his assistant, right? So his assistant would be like walking around the back, or he's like where's Frank, or how many fingers is Frank holding up, that kind of thing.
He wouldn't put a scary mask on him or anything?
So that he was sure that you were actually looking behind you and not just doing the motion.
Not just like turning around just for turning around. And then when we didn't turn around, he would be like, "No scan, F it." And he's like, just as like a, hey, we're not, we're being lazy and not scanning, that kind of thing. Basically calling us out without calling us out individually.
What's the fun if he doesn't call you out individually? Public shaming of the whole group? It's no fun.
I want to hear about low light. I don't know if you guys are ready to talk about that or not.
Yeah, low light. I mean, he basically talked about low light and how light is noise, and you can be, you can move around the darkness, stealthily. But as soon as you turn on the light, basically everything, all that goes out the window, and you're basically going loud. He taught us, I think we covered ways to hold the flashlight in your hand, and then that kind of thing. We didn't do too much. He didn't do too much like instruction on low light, and then we did get to shoot at steel targets with pistol and rifle at low light conditions. No light was when he just lit a flare and tossed it on the ground in front of the targets, so we could actually see something.
Now, when you say low light, were you actually using any weapon-mounted lights?
Yeah, so I have this. This is the enforced WML. This is the 500 lumen version. So I use this, but it got like filthy dirty. You can see there, because on my AAC breakout, this brake chamber right here is directly in front of this, so basically spraying gas right on the flashlight.
Oh yeah, that's always the worst thing about
masking tape over that hole.
Well, the other thing, and I don't know how much you paid attention to other people's firearms, but were there any? Like, my biggest things with weapon-mounted flashlights is the fact that unless you really do spend the money and get one made and rated for a firearm, most flashlights aren't going to take the recoil and the heat. You know what I mean? Like, did you see anybody's lights go down?
No, I didn't see any of that. I mean, we had like people with cheap sights, we had like one guy with a True Glow sight. Somehow he managed to spend like $400 on a True Glow sight, and I was like, why didn't you just buy an EOTech or an Aimpoint? But yeah, so I mean, we had people who had like budget type and budget brand stuff, and it ran fine. I mean, nothing. I don't think anything really broke, other than that one dude's AK stuff.
Wait, so you're telling me an AK failed?
The furniture, not the actual rifle.
Oh, okay.
The cheap plastic furniture that he had bought.
Did anyone use lasers?
No.
Did he badmount lasers?
Actually,
nope,
no.
Just firearms.
People had lasers, but they didn't really use. They might have like flashed them a couple times downrange just to see, but nobody really used it in any real sense.
So he had you guys use each other's firearms. Did he go through and have a talk about choices and options, accessories, brands, techniques?
No. So in that sense, right? He's very he's a very minimalist. He's a very minimalist, low profile guy. He doesn't wear the tactical stuff. He doesn't, when he's walking around town, he basically has a belt.
Or he just doesn't. He just doesn't roll that way, or is he against it? Because some people are like,
he's not against it, but he's just like, he's very minimal. He wants the minimum set of that will basically let him do what he needs to do. If it doesn't add, if it gets in the way or is too noisy, like to him, an EOTech reticle is noisy. He prefers an aim point dot. Like that's his mentality, right? He carries, he's got his Appendix 1911. He's got one spare mag in an outside waistband mag pouch, and one rifle mag pouch behind that. He wears a T-shirt and like a North Face cover garment. And that's it. Like that's his low profile stuff. So I mean, he always talks about like, yeah, I could, take all these random parts and build up these crazy race guns and stuff. But in the end, like he basically strips it back down to the bare fundamentals. He's got, his optic, which I guess is an aim point now, and then he's got like a Surefire light because he's got a partnership with Surefire. And now, that's pretty much all he runs.
A little bit more than a partnership, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like whatever it is. He makes Surefire manufactures his. I believe they manufacture his.
Right. They came to him and said, the shit about flashlights. You're an expert. Let's get your opinion on stuff, and then he helped him design.
Well, now
He developed basically like a combat ring that goes around your like 1-inch flashlight that you can use to manipulate, retain it while you're using it with a pistol.
now how much of, or did he let on to how much of the how much of his the air marshal training carried over into what he teaches? I mean, is that a driving, like, is he pulled from a lot of his
Not necessarily. Whatever he teaches, he said whatever he's teaching us is basically the stuff that people use to kill each other every day. Those are like a paraphrase of his words, right? I mean, if it does come from his air marshal training, then it's already built into what he teaches. It's not like strictly from air marshal training. 'Cause he's still a contractor, right? He's still a civilian contractor for DoD. He still does that kind of stuff, I guess. And then he teaches.
Oh, and what's the other thing? What part of the country is he in, or does he travel around like Jaeger and do it all over the place?
I think he lives around Oak Harbor, something like that. I think he lives around. He said he lives around the Northwest, but then he teaches back east and around DC area. So 40 weeks out of the year he's in DC teaching people, and then he'll come back here and to where his family is, and then teach a couple classes here and in Anchorage, Alaska.
Oh, that's sweet.
Did he spend any time like ranting about politics or talking about astronomy
Nope.
or his love of boats or stories of like past lives or anything weird?
None of the politics, nothing about Second Amendment type stuff, if that's what you're asking. Nothing like that. It's basically
I'm
just
wondering.
yeah.
So it's all, here's what you're here to learn, let's get this done.
I mean, it's not like he was just he's not like he was just like straight, teaching and all that stuff and doing all that stuff. I mean, he's a goofy guy at times. Like he's very, I mean, like that whole thing about like the tight Asian thing that I thought was pretty funny. Like that kind of stuff, right? He'll make random jokes, insert random jokes.
So he's personable.
So it's not like boot camp and you have to shut up or look forward.
He's not a drill instructor. He's not a let me show you how big my dick is. He's not a I'm going to tell you what to do and no matter what you're going to do it, and if you don't you're an idiot, that kind of thing. Right? He's not that kind of guy. He's a very chill guy that you could actually talk to and have a conversation with.
Now, is it to the extent where it gets annoying and you're looking at other students kind of rolling your eyes because he's taking forever with every little thing, or did he do a good job of keeping his things on track? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he would make jokes every now and then, but they were very few and not really, you wouldn't remember it if you in place of all the teaching and stuff.
So a couple things.
Okay, I guess you can ask a question. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I got a ton. Go ahead.
No, just real quick. A couple things we always cover about training, and if this was your first, reel, like with a bunch of people, we always try to recommend loading your magazines ahead of time and have an electronic ear pro. Did you see that was beneficial, or anyone that didn't do it, or?
A lot of people, including me, had the Howard Lights, the $45 electronic ear pro. I ran ESS crossbow eye protection, which is like I looked it up. It's like one of the one of the military type grade ones. Other than that, I mean, I brought my speed loaders and I used them the entire time just because I didn't feel like. I mean, I can load from the hand, but it's just such a pain in the ass when you're constantly loading. The reason I didn't load. I brought 4 for the Glock, 2 for the PPQ, and I brought 5 PMags. But I also brought an ammo can full of PMags just in case, and I didn't touch them. So I kind of wish I had preloaded, but it didn't really matter because he gave us time to load anyways, right? He gave us ample time to load. Because at the reason why I didn't preload is because the first pistol class I took, you were loading like different amounts of ammo in each gun, like maybe 5, 10, that kind of thing. And to load a full 15 into every single mag or a full 30, I'd end up emptying out. I figured I'd emptied out some of them, so I just didn't load anything beforehand.
But
every time,
oh, go ahead.
Every time we loaded up full mag. So I mean, other than like the 1-in-1 drills or transition drills, we had full mags every time.
I find that it's not so much that he gives you time to load your magazines, is that he gives the suckers time to load their magazines, and that gives you time to have more one-on-one time with an instructor when you're loaded up and always ready to go. So
Yeah.
I know that you didn't, but big deal. Did you notice that anybody was loaded up and just always right there on his elbow, absorbing
No.
stuff 24/7? Okay.
Not everybody was loading. When he gave us time to load, when he gave us like a few minute break to load, everybody was loading.
Was he loading?
Yes.
Was he shooting as much as you the whole time?
No. He would
Was
shoot
he
for
demoing
demonstration.
stuff? Okay.
Yeah, he would demo. He
on the line also.
Wait, what?
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. He didn't also shoot on the line with you as you're running drills.
Sometimes he would shoot. Sometimes he would shoot with us. Like when we did. So we were on a 50-yard range, and there was one time at one point where he was teaching us how to shoot one-handed, and we would basically start at 7 yards and then walk back to 10, 20 or whatever. And by the time we had worked all the way back to 50 yards shooting on steel, he was with us, taking a couple shots every now and then.
So if everybody's cool, I want to start from the beginning again. How many days?
3 days.
And 3 full days of shooting and everything? Because you said it wasn't much lecture compared to shooting.
Yeah, so 3 days. The first Thursday and Friday were 8 a.m. to about 9 p.m. and Saturday was 9 a.m. to 5, 6 p.m. So it's about
it's dark
30
when?
hours, 30 some hours. It got dark right around 8:30, 8 a.m.
Damn, that's all trigger time, huh? No class time.
We were in the classroom. We were in the classroom the first day. We were in the classroom for probably about 3 hours, just because we were talking about stuff and going over him and what he wants to teach us and that kind of thing. No, not 3 hours, probably 2 hours. And then second day was another hour. With another hour, we went over medical stuff, like tourniquets and compression, that kind of thing. And then after that, third day was just straight out to the range. Let's go shoot. So I mean, we got probably close to 30 hours of straight range time with very little class. He didn't teach from PowerPoints or slides or anything like that. He would write a few things on the board, on the chalkboard, and then that was basically the extent of it.
This was at a public range?
This was at a private members range. I guess he had a partnership with.
So that's what I was going to ask. Is it his backyard? I mean, was he just 100% familiar this is his range? Or
no. Well, it's owned by somebody else. I don't know how it works. It's a member's range.
Turn it into a robot. Or is that just me?
No, I'm getting that feedback too. Where's that coming from?
Try to fill in with your mic or something.
On me or
No, it's
Daniel?
No, I think it's just Daniel.
Say something again, Daniel.
Yeah.
You better.
Okay.
Good. Sorry, so this was his range. Was he super familiar with it? Totally comfortable, bathrooms over there? Or oh, I've been here before, I think the bathroom's over there?
He knows where everything is. It's not his range, but I think that's where he teaches every time.
Okay, and then what are we talking about? Outdoor range, it sounds like?
Outdoor 50-yard range. Probably
it's private, so gated. You guys were the only ones there, or were there recreational shooters out there doing their thing too?
Other members at times, not too many people during the day because it was a Thursday and Friday. Saturday, I think, was a little bit more people, but yeah, it was mostly us, and they basically blocked off our range from anybody else.
Okay, so this is a range with multiple
areas, yes, yeah,
lanes. Okay,
multi-purpose.
You had your own. Was this covered shooting line with picnic tables and concrete, or was this? We haven't seen any pictures, really.
Yeah, I didn't take any pictures.
Well, actually, up by you, it's probably a lot of grass.
Well, it's
green everywhere.
The range itself, the area itself is a gravel pit, gravel and dirt, and then back there, there's basically tables that you can put that we set up our stuff on and load mags from, and then we will walk out to the firing line.
So
okay.
At the longest, you said 50 yards. So even on your carbine acquisitions, you were only shooting max 50 yards.
Yep.
It was a 50-yard bay. So did you park right by your tables?
No, it was a minute walk from my car to the area.
Oh, okay. And then What kind of facilities we're talking? Cardboard stands, wires with paper clips. How were the target stands?
Like the one by twos with the IPSC outline stapled to them, and then we stapled
cardboards.
And we stapled paper targets on top of that. And then we had 6 steel targets, torso silhouettes on like these really ghetto like 2x4 target stands that we eventually shot up.
Okay, so were these range equipment, or he brought this stuff in specifically because he likes his own targets?
I think they were range equipment.
Okay, so he's making do. And then targets themselves, the paper targets, what kind does he use? Or did you use multiple? Or
We had it was like some certain law enforcement targets. You got the random bad guys holding a gun. That those kind of like comical, like those kind of things.
Kind?
Yeah, the picture kind. And then first couple days we would turn them around and shoot the white side.
Interesting. So he's not the kind for like all the fancy shapes and numbers and gizmos and colors and stuff.
Nope.
Okay.
First day he drew a giant like 4-inch circle. And he took a Sharpie and just like squiggled a 4-inch circle, and then drew 3 rows of 5X's, and that's what we shot. So he's very yeah.
So this isn't bullseye class. If you're missing, that's up to you to deal with it. This is your learning techniques, or did you guys go up and make sure you were still in softball size groups and stuff?
We did accuracy stuff. I mean, there was one drill where we would go out and then shoot each of the X's. You would shoot 1X, and then do that for the entire row, and then basically try and get to the cross of the X, that kind of thing.
Now, did he go over point shooting? I mean, when you said accuracy drills, but was there ever a time where he basically wanted to get you guys comfortable enough with just point shooting where you didn't acquire sights?
The only point shooting that we did was extreme close quarter stuff with the pistol and rifle. Everything else was get your front sight. That's all you need.
Extreme close. Extreme touching.
Extreme close range, I mean like this far away from the target, or walking up to the target as you're shooting, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
what about slings?
So I ran the Magpuls, the MS4 single to dual convert. I ran it solely in single point mode.
Is he pro single or dual, or does he not really care?
Doesn't care. Didn't matter to him.
Because some people really want it to be able to where it'll just immediately fall out of the way for transitions.
Hot range or cold range?
Hot range. You were pretty much always loaded. He didn't care. The way he approaches safety is probably the most eye-opening thing about the course that I got out of it. Is that so? All the safety, basically the way you put it is that all the rules that you see on like different ranges and stuff, they deal with a square range, right? You got your walls here, you got your people here, and then your target's down there. Everything's downrange. You never go downrange or point your gun anywhere but downrange. But he said in real life, your range, everything is downrange is 360 degrees. No matter what you do, somebody's gonna, in war or whatever, somebody's gonna be downrange of you. So you need to hold your gun in a manner that is safe, right? So instead of, because when I took that pistol class before, coming back was like this, right? And then we go back to the holster. But what he does is that he doesn't come back like this and use that as to move around. He'll go muzzle up, or he'll go, and he also taught us a Sewell position too, right? We learned that. But he prefers muzzle up because when we did Sewell, some of us would angle the gun like this way or that way or outwards, and you say you have a higher danger of muzzling your foot or somebody else's foot. Like he would walk in front of us and make sure that we did the Sewell correctly, so that we wouldn't muzzle his feet, that kind of thing.
You definitely weren't doing it out where you're showing us, right? You didn't touching you.
Huh?
You're just demoing it out there in the middle of the air. He wasn't letting people do Sewell out in the middle of the air like that. You guys had it on your chest, right?
Yeah, it was like this kind of thing, yeah.
So that sounds like air marshal stuff. I mean, they're not going to be pointing a gun down necessarily.
Yeah, he prefers this. He'll index his thumb on his ear. I can't do it because I have a headset on, right? But
you're doing that intentionally. I didn't notice. Okay.
He indexes his thumb. So that's another thing he does. He calls them touch points, right? Basically indexing. He'll index his finger into his ejection port, or he'll index his finger you know, like right here on the magazine, like right in front of the magazine button, that kind of thing. He calls them touch points. So, you know, when you have your grip, your thumb is a touch point on certain part of your rifle, that kind of certain part of your pistol, that kind of thing. But he prefers muzzle up, so we do muzzle up for pistol, and then we do the exact same thing for carbine, because the carbine is just a long pistol. We do muzzle up for carbines.
Yeah. Now, I think G-Web's asked you earlier, but did you guys run in your sling? You had an opportunity to like sling your rifle and draw your pistol, the transition, in other words, where you had both weapons live?
Yes, we did that a lot. We did that a lot, and I can probably demo it if I can just.
Any dual wielding?
No.
Smart ass.
That is a fool. Save the dual wielding for your YouTube videos.
Just give me a sec here.
Oh yeah, put it on.
Alright, so you got your pistol, you got your carbine here, and then I'm going to pretend.
Please don't desk pop.
I was about
We
to
lost
say,
your audio. We
did
lost
he
your
just-
audio.
Yeah, we
Oh.
can't
Lost
hear
your
you.
audio. If you're talking, we lost your audio.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you now.
Alright, cool. So, I'm going to pretend that I have a holster here, right? So as you're shooting, right? As you're shooting, you're doing like this, and then as you go empty, you turn the rifle. Right? So normally you would think to just bring the rifle down and immediately go to your pistol, right? But the way he said is that tends, if you bring your rifle down like this, you're trapping your support hand under your rifle, and somebody could come up and just press that and trap your hand. So what he tells you to do is just, instead of coming down like this, is just turn the rifle and come down like this. That way your hand is on top of your rifle, and then you can immediately go to your draw phase and go like that. Then when you come back, you bring your pistol back enough, you do enough to clear your concealment, your guard, basically, and put your gun back in, as you are at the same time grabbing your rifle, bringing it back up, and acquiring your pistol grip again. And then from here, you can look at your ejection port and then go into your tactical reload and that kind of thing.
I guess there is also a likelihood if you just drop it that your pistol grip will get in the way of drawing your pistol if it's to the right side.
Now, did you guys ever get into applying the safety on the rifle? I know the Frank Proctor way of the gun, he's a big proponent of always flipping that safety on, even during a mag change.
No. Well, I don't know
what was his mindset about that?
I don't know if Graham flips his safety on. Actually, yes, I do. So when I said you were shooting, right? You're shooting, whatever, bam, bam, bam. Something goes, your bolt goes back, you're empty, that kind of thing. You would bring your gun back as you were turning and canting your rifle down, and as soon as you turn the safety, as soon as you flip the safety back, you would immediately go to your pistol. So it was like boom, bring the safety back, rifle down, draw up, boom, and then come back here. Your left hand is bring your gun up, and like that. He can demo it a lot smoother than I can, but yes, that's the general idea. So you're bringing it off. You bring it whenever you're not firing or pointing your gun down range. Your safety is on. So when I'm up here, my safety is on.
Any drills that he runs? Obviously, if you've taken classes before, you're a gun guy, you've watched videos. Is there anything that he did that was like, oh shit, I've never seen that, never thought of that, never,
We had one where it was a partner drill. It was a partner accuracy drill with pistols. So one guy would shoot a hole into the paper, and the other guy had to shoot another bullet directly through that hole, and then you would alternate. That was one drill we did for accuracy. Other than that, it was just like kind of drawing, firing around. Then the transition drill was you set up one round in your carbine, and then you fire, right? Your bolt locks back. You put the rifle down, safety on, transition to your pistol, fire one round, reholster and then bring your carbine up and do a speed reload and fire one more round.
That first drill, Stone, you and I'd be really good at that as long as you went first.
Nice. That actually sounds kind of fun, just to do with a buddy out at the range. I've never thought of that, actually.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So there's a question. You know, you go there to train and you really just learn how to practice. What are you going to practice going to the range from now on that you took away from there?
I will practice, I guess, drawing, because I have a new draw stroke now. It's slightly different. Basically, always remembering to keep my toes locked into the ground. That's the new stance. Probably the carbine transition to pistol, transition back to carbine drill, and then just speed reloading and stuff like that.
So all of that you can do without ammo, right? I mean, you could practice all that in your room without any live ammo.
Theoretically, but the one thing I don't like doing about like dry practice and like especially carbine stuff is that it makes me have the muscle memory of racking my slide back after I dry fire a round, right? And I don't want to always practice like I say, hey, I fired a shot, now I'm going to rack the slide back because I know I have to reset the trigger for the next dry fire shot. So that's why I personally don't like to do that much dry fire practice. I just do it with live ammo.
All right, you can do mag change drills, transition drills.
Yeah, I can do that.
Drawing, just drawing. Yeah, you could do that. So just getting to, here's the thing, that's the value to me, right? Like everyone just looks at the cost, but you're learning how to practice. And then you can go back and practice for free if you want to, a lot of this stuff. So then those reps that they're meaningful at that point. They're not just something you came up with or watched on TV or something. Not you personally, right? But just in general, that's the value of that, is if you take it that next step once you get it back and don't just leave it at that training class. And a lot of this stuff you can do dry. So
yeah,
that's one thing I want to point out.
Was there any was there any focus on movement? Because
yes,
reiterating this dig your feet into the ground thing, and all the stuff I've been doing lately has been focused in general around continuous movement while you're doing what you're doing.
So we didn't do like, oh, I'm gonna have my pistol out and I'm gonna run around, or when I'm reloading I'm gonna move down or crouch down or anything like that, right? His whole thing is you're standing and only your arms are moving when you're manipulating your weapon and firing, that kind of thing. We did shooting while moving, and we did shooting and then moving. So we learned the difference between what it's like to run up to a tire, shoot a couple rounds, run up closer, and shoot another couple rounds, that kind of thing. We also learned, run from this tire to that tire while you're shooting on the move on that steel, and notice the difference in your accuracy. And what he told us is that, you can shoot while you're moving, but but you're basically taking 4 or 5 times as long to get from point A to point B while you're shooting and missing half your shots, right? So he'll run up he'll sprint to the spot and then shoot from there, because he'll be more accurate. You're exposed less time, right? I mean, it's all situational, right? It's not like he says never shoot while you're moving, right? He said if you can shoot while you're moving and hit your target, that's fine, but make sure you're hitting your target. If you're not going to hit your target while you're walking forward or running forward, then it might be better to run to your next cover area and then shoot, right? He's not a very set in stone guy. He's very like it's dependent on the situation, that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
That kind of stuff is why I think it's interesting to go to experience different instructors, because where they come from doesn't matter. Everybody comes from a different place, and if their bad guys are shooting back at them with a single pistol, that's one thing, and if their bad guys are shooting back to them with multiple full auto things, they're both going to have different opinions of how to return fire or how to engage. So that's, again, so many of these things, I'm sure other guys that are listening to this, other guys and gals that are listening to this are seeing so much of this stuff is very much close quarters, very much what you would do on a plane with low or no light, what you would do with smoke, in the air, or low visibility because of particulates, that kind of thing. A lot of these techniques you're talking about are definitely heavy on those criteria, where you talk to somebody who's been working on a boat for a long time, and it's a little different. You talk to somebody who's been working on a helicopter, and it'll be way different because they'll never point a gun up, or they'll have different experiences. So really interesting.
Yeah,
I don't know where you want to go, Stone Guy, but I've got another big pile I could go through, but you guys, I don't want to monopolize it.
He was very big on like, this is my life, or this is your life, this is your fight you're preparing for, right? Like he's going to teach you the principles, and then he's going to teach you different techniques, and you figure out what works for you in your life, right? You may not be the guy out there in Afghanistan or Iraq wearing the full tac vest and stuff like that. You may be low key like him and just have a mag pouch and a concealed carry pistol and that kind of thing. Or you may not even have a holster at all. You might just, and we had situations where we ran drills like the Crazy Eights and stuff where we would do it one-handed. So I literally rack the slide off of my leg or my belt at certain times, right? So your fight might not be, you at a grocery store with a concealed carry in your mag holster. You might just be, hey, so there's a bump in the night, grab my pistol, stuff a mag in my pocket, and that's what I have to fight with. So he's very it's very situational based.
Yeah, speaking of that,
had you done that before?
What do you mean?
Alternative modes of charging a firearm?
No, I've only heard about it. Yeah, you can rack your slide off your belt and that kind of thing, but I've never actually done it. And then I did switch from, so the majority of the class I ran this Blue Forest gear, the 10-speed chest rig, and I bought the 2 mag pouches on the side, and I absolutely hate this thing. Because it's fine if you're running around and you need to securely hold your mags. It does a very good job at that, right? Like I can dangle upside down and shake this as however hard I want, and nothing's going to fall out. However, a lot of the drills we had were tactical. After we would shoot, I would do a tactical reload, right? You pull the mag out, it's come out just fine. You switch your mag out with your carbine, and when you go to put it back in, it's a two-handed thing because these mag pouches are basically elastic. So after you pull the mag out, they collapse back to their folded state, and it's very difficult to insert a mag into this thing. Like if I try to do this, like there are marks. There are marks on this thing because I've just tried shoving it in and it just won't go in, right? I have to take 2 hands and like pull this out, and then I can shove it in. It's a pain in the ass.
Are you gonna get a dump pouch next time? Because those aren't designed for that. Normally that's what you carry a dump pouch for, because you don't put empty mags back in with your loaded mags.
I also didn't like this thing because it got in the way of my sling. So I'm gonna next time I do that, I'm just gonna switch to belt stuff. So I'm gonna get belt, Kydex, pistol and rifle belt holsters for those.
Well, you kind of hit on my next thing.
I'm just going to play devil's advocate. You're going to put your magazines somewhere behind you, and you're going to reduce the capacity because of your sling, instead of maybe thinking about your sling got in the way of your chest rig, and so your chest rig got in the way of your sling or whatever. It's just an idea.
Yeah, we'll see. At least I learned that that specific chest rig is not. I don't like it. Not just because of the sling, just because it's a pain to get mags back in.
So speaking of that, you kind of touched on it, but that was going to be my next question. Was the fact of did everybody there run some type of chest rig / really cool operator shit, or was there guys there with just a mag pouch on their belt?
We had the AK guy whose furniture broke. He had drop leg mag pouches. Excuse me, for his AK. The ex-Air Force guy ran the plate minus plates with the DKX plates, the really thin floating plates or light floating plates. He had like stuff on there. We had other guys with regular looking plate carrier stuff. They didn't have armor, but they had the mag pouches and stuff.
Sorry, I was muted. Did anybody that you know of run armor?
Yes, the Air Force guy.
Okay, he actually had armor on. Okay.
He was the only one.
I'm just curious because that's a good opportunity in a training class like that. That's a good opportunity to proof your gear, kind of like what you did. You had a rig that you may not have ever really tried to use, so a training class is going to give you the best opportunity to put on the gear you have and run with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Test it out, see how it works for you.
Yep.
I think that's really the only way to see if something's going to truly work, because I mean you can buy all the cool shit you want, but if you don't use it or run it and see how it's going to do for you, then what's the point?
Yep.
But,
I mean, even Graham was talking about like when he bought new mags, like those he bought new 10-round mags, and they absolutely just failed him when he first started using them. But he basically just said you got to ring out your gear, right? So you got to figure out what works and stuff. And his mags were failing him, and he just kind of ran with it because he eventually worked them out. You got to break them in, right?
so gee, now I'm cool if you're good. If you want to go through some more questions that you had, we can run with this a little while longer. Is he still there? I don't have my camera on.
Yeah, I was just grabbing a peach. Hold on. So sticking with the gear then, how much coaching or individual attention to the gear, its performance? For example, did he talk to you specifically about your Blue Force 6-pack, or did you talk about it to the class? Like you mentioned when you had the malfunction, how that was a teaching kernel. He could bring that to the class and show everybody. Did he bother with any of the gear issues?
No, he's not. He's not a gear guy. Doesn't care. It's just whatever you got, whatever works for you to let you do what you need to do and get rounds on target. That's basically all he cared about.
Okay, and then I'll switch gears a bit. Lunchtime, 3 days of lunches, right?
Yeah, I made the mistake of going out to other random restaurants and not eating with him. I should have ate with him. I regret not doing that.
All 3 days? Did you do that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So let me first. I mean, we kind of just fast forwarded there. So I don't know if my dog's making a lot of noise in the background here, but lunches, scheduled time. Like, hey, is everybody ready for a break? Let's take it now, or
something like that. He's like, yeah, it's 11:30. Come back at 12:30, whatever. Right?
Okay. And then the range, is that in the middle of a town? There's like a subway nearby, or you have to drive for like 20 minutes to get to a subway and then drive 20 minutes back, so you got 10 minutes to wolf it down?
It's like a 7 to 10 minute. No, it's like a 5-10 minute drive, less than 10 minutes to get to the center of the town where all the restaurants are.
Okay.
So you're not stressed for time.
So then, was it, let's all meet back in an hour, the gates will be unlocked 10 minutes prior to when we get back, or was it like, I'm going to Subway if you guys want to join me, or you're all dismissed, we'll regroup, or was it like, I'm going here, if everybody wants to join me, let's go?
No, yeah, it was just kind of like, open the gates and be back in an hour, that kind of thing.
And then just most of the class gathered at one place or something?
I don't know. Wherever I went, nobody else went. Like I went to the barbecue place for a majority of the time, and then I went to there was a sushi place I found, that kind of thing. I don't know where everybody else went. I think everybody else there was like Taco Bell.
Sushi in the lunch during a shooting class?
Yeah.
Nice. Was that a worthwhile choice for lunch? I've never thought about that. I mean, was it good energy, or was it bad decision, or didn't matter?
Well, yeah, sushi.
It was
good, man. Protein.
It was good. I mean, I got a little bit of sushi, and then I got some bulgogi, which is like a Korean beef stir-fried beef dish, and then I got a big plate of rice. So I had a lot of energy.
Oh, okay, you got good food. Okay, I was just saying because I hate to eat like a snack and then go back to working hard. All right, so you guys. I mean, I just asked because that's always another way to supplement or get a little bit extra out of it, is if the lunch is, a communal thing or not.
Yeah, I should have done that. I think he was open. I think he probably would have been open to it, but yeah, I just didn't.
I think I asked you already, but I don't think we talked about it in here. Any kind of handouts, like before class, anything? How was the documentation on the website? Did you know what you were going to experience?
I knew some of what I was going to experience, and that whatever I read on the website plus the YouTube videos is pretty much all I had. There's no PDF handouts of what he teaches, right? doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't. He's not. It's
It's not
not
like
his
there's a
style.
course curriculum. This is the points
not-
of instruction for this class.
Just like in the beginning of the class where he has a blank whiteboard. He's like, "What do you guys want to learn?" That's what he teaches off of. It's not a strict style, right? And even
Sounds
then,
more like a skill builder type of exercise than a curriculum.
yeah, and even then, like his with whatever techniques he teaches changes because he's always taking it back from the field. So I mean, we've had people there who have taken that exact same class 6 times, and the guy says every time I take it, I learn something different. Like that whole feet, knees, hips, and shoulders, and digging your toes into the ground. He said this is the first class that I've been to that Graham has talked about that.
Well, let's go with that for a minute then, because you guys were talking about that when I wasn't really in here. So he seems like he's more the dynamic, and I know that's a word that gets laughed at or whatever recently, but I think that's a valid way to describe that style where I don't know how, I'm not going to explain it as good as a good instructor, but you have explosive like movement to get yourself into position. So if you've got 3 seconds to take a shot, you're going to spend 1.5 seconds getting into position and then 2 seconds making the perfect shot, as opposed to trying to do some like smooth operator, move and shoot at the same time and end up neither moving right or shooting well. So it sounds like he's more of the get there fast and strong, and then take as much time as possible to get the shot accurately and still be quick.
Something like that. I mean,
Well, when you described his, like, he didn't encourage you to just kind of consider yourself a mobile platform and you're shooting from your hips or something like some instructors will do. He wanted you to just boogie over to where you're behind cover and then engage targets with a solid platform.
Something like that. But if he's just like if some dude's in front of him, he's just squaring off with a guy, like to the other person, you won't even really notice that he ever moved, and he's already in his shooting position, right? Because his body is perfectly straight. He's just standing up straight. His nose is over his toes, and his toes are digging into the ground. That creates tension in his toes, his legs, his quads, and your core, and your shoulders are tight. You tighten your shoulders or whatever. That creates a very stable platform, and to anybody else, it looks like he's just standing up. But to him, he's locked, and he's basically looking where he wants his bullet to go. He's looking at this triangle area where he's going to place his shot. He talked about how like you can feel the energy of an atmosphere when you walk into a room, like when you walk home and like you feel something's off and your parents you're fighting or whatever. That kind of energy. He said like when he gets into that stance, you can feel that energy ripple across the area, because he was at like a gas station with his other team, and there was some guy that tried to come at him. As soon as he got into that position, the other guy, like, he's just filling up gas, not even looking at Graham. He's like, "How many, Graham?" He's like, and then in the match, like, just one of them. So like without even looking, his other teammates knew that shit was about to go down because he was already in his stance.
Did any of the students, including yourself, have any troubles emulating that, or trying to do that? Sometimes it's easier for a guy who freaking does 1,000 push-ups every morning to do stuff, and then he teaches it to people, and they're like, "Well, great, except I have spaghetti arms, and you have freaking ape arms."
No, yeah, it was. I mean, everybody got it. Everybody was doing pretty well. We had a very good lineup of people. Even the people who had like bad backs or bad knees or that kind of thing could still do it. I mean, they weren't like, when we got to the point where we were doing crazy eights and rolling around the ground and stuff, they had a little bit of trouble. But other than that, I mean, everybody ran just fine.
Maybe we're thinking of different things. When I think of an 8, I think of 2 target stands set out like where you'd be standing, and a target downrange where you're shooting at, and then you weave in between those 2 target stands as if you were going around tree trunks or pillars in a parking garage or something. So you'd be going back and forth walking. You're talking about something different.
So we did Crazy Eights was more about positional shooting. We did something called the conga line, where you would all stand as a firing line. He would tell one of you to start moving. You would basically weave in and out of people doing Sewell or muzzle up, and then after you walked around in front of somebody, you would turn, and as you were moving, fire 2 shots at one of the steel targets. Then come back to muzzle up, walk back around the other guy, and come back and just basically go around the thing, conga line style. And the Crazy Ace was basically positional shooting, where you start every engagement is 2 rounds, right? 2 rounds standing, then 2 rounds on your knees, then 2 rounds prone, 2 rounds on your butt, on your back. Then you would roll left and roll right, and then you would go prone again and roll left, roll right, and then you go on your back and shoot 2. And then come back up. They had 2 different knee positions. One was on both knees, one was on one knee, and then work your back. And as you would stand back up, you would keep shooting, that kind of thing. So it's basically just different awkward positions of shooting. And we did that double-handed and one-handed with strong and weak hand, and you would have to do mag changes and rack your slide with one hand.
Now, that's all while you've got other people on the range with you and you're shooting in and around them?
Yes.
Okay,
So his idea of safety has completely changed how I think about what's considered safe, right? Like, even this was completely foreign to me before, right? I never would have thought of this before. I always thought, like, hey, point it down range, and then when you're done, you rack the slide back and unload it and set it on the table, that kind of thing. So he described it as like shooting in lanes, right? When you're driving on the highway, right, you're going 70, 80 miles an hour, and somebody's right next to you, like 2 feet away, going 70, 80 miles an hour, but that feels completely natural to you, right? Or even like oncoming traffic 5 feet away from you, going 70 miles an hour, it feels completely natural because we're used to that. So what he did for us is that, you would have 5 or 6 steel targets, but you would have people uprange and downrange both shooting straight forward at the steel targets because they were in different stages of the drill. So it's the way he teaches it, he builds up that trust and that kind of everybody's on the same page about what's considered a safe position and that kind of thing. So by the end of it, like, it felt completely natural to me to be downrange shooting 10 yards away from a target and have people all the way back at the 50-yard line shooting straight forward at another target 20 feet over from me.
Well, that's what I was getting at. So, and that's something that when you if somebody were to just tune in right now and listen to this, they go, what? Right? Yeah, and that's sensationalistic or whatever. But yes, that's what I was going to ask is, for one, it sounds like is there prerequisites to this class? Do you have to be at some level of proficiency?
He doesn't believe in any. Well, no. You just have to have a gun. You could just buy everything and take it there and take the class. Okay.
Because then that's definitely interesting. And I'm not trying to put any kind of value on it, because it's obviously you're very comfortable with it, and I'm assuming the other people in the class, you didn't bring up any people that were alarmed or something. I imagine that's probably happened to them, but it sounds like most people, like you say, I think that's a great way of describing it. You're not at all concerned that you're driving 100 miles or 70 miles an hour this way, and sometimes without even a median, there's a guy going 70 miles an hour the other way, yes, feet from you, which could be the last thing you ever see. But we do that countless times daily because we're just used to it. And that's something that's hard to describe to people that haven't been out there. But that's one of the things, I'm sure that one of the reasons it's 3 days long, and he doesn't immediately start you out with that. But I guess what I was going to ask is, when Guru was asking before, was there anything about the class that, was like, I don't know how he said it, but, anything that was completely out of your norm? I got to assume you just weren't thinking of it at the time, but that was one of those things. And I find that to be so pleasurable. It's sort of, I don't know how to describe it either necessarily, because otherwise I'd make a fortune because I'd be able to describe this, but that's the best thing I've heard. Or maybe the same thing would be true for somebody who does like work in a high building before the skins are put on, like on their girders or whatever. There's just certain things that aren't really all that scary once you get comfortable with them. And it's not that you have a lack of awareness of the potential risk or the element of danger. It's just that you also have a more clear idea of what the actual danger is and the insignificance of the potential of real accident. Only accident is the real issue there. And anyway, so I'm just saying that's got to be some part of the, what you pay for when you take a class like that, I don't know what to call it, confidence, or that at least awareness that you can't know how you're going to react to something until you've had to experience it, right? Until you've been there. So now at least you know that if someone shot from behind you on your same team shooting past you, you're not going to shit yourself and freak out or get in front of their bullet or something crazy. Like
it's
someone
it's
might theoretically if they never done anything before.
yeah, like it's he says, we're all grown ass men. We all know how to at this point we all know how to use firearms. I think by the end of day one we were doing these lanes, right? We were doing, you know, three different lanes, tires set up. You would start back at the 50, run all the way forward, run all the way back, shoot one-handed, and then run up, shoot one-handed, shoot one-handed. So you had people down range of each other at all times, shooting in different stages of the drill, and it just felt completely natural and normal. And like how have I not done this before? Like I was talking about it with one of the classmates today, and I was like his safety rules are like it's like eating a filet mignon, and then now we have to go back to every other square range and eat like sirloin or hamburger, right? Like it builds your confidence because he trusts you. You built that trust, right, with not just him, right, with everybody, because you're all strangers when you first meet. Within 10 hours, you're shooting down range of each other. It takes a lot to build up that trust. And
That's excellent. I never thought about it that way, but I think that's one of those things that I find difficult to describe when we're having discussions with people that are like, what? You mean you're okay with somebody carrying a long arm into a restaurant? And I'm like, yeah, I'm completely comfortable with that, and it must have something to do with the fact that I've been on countless instances where there's people with loaded guns waving them around all around me with no harmful intent, so I was not at all concerned. So
the single most eye-opening moment, and I even told the assistant instructor, I was like, this is crazy how I can accept this as normal, is that there was a point where we were all standing in a line and we basically took our loaded rifles, set them down, and did target changes. And like I was walking back up and I was like, there's like 10 different loaded rifles pointing right at me on the ground, and I am not freaking out about it, right? Like that to me would before that class would be crazy. I was like, at the one of the long distance ranges I shoot at, you can only have one bullet in the rifle at a time, right? Not even load the magazine up. And then when you went down range, everything, the magazine was out, safety flag was in there, the bullet was back, all that stuff. All these crazy Nazi safety rules. Forgive my term Nazi, right? But it's just all these crazy safety rules, and now it just seems like they just seem so silly because to them they said it's not about the risk is always there, right? The risk is always going to be there. It's about mitigating the risk, not necessarily trying to take things away to eliminate the risk. He said that's what other ranges do. They'll take things away to try and eliminate that risk, but the risk is always going to be there. So we want to be smart and mitigate that risk.
Yeah, if you don't practice it like now, you won't. When stuff hits the fan, you'll be trying to do all the range rules versus real life rules, and that'd be a problem.
Yeah.
Did you say you shot a Glock?
Yeah, I shot the Glock.
Anything you're going to change on it?
No. Ran just fine.
What kind of sights do you run on it?
Just standard Trijicon night sights, not even the HD night sights, and then I have the standard trigger, nothing else.
So
no
it's
extended,
just the 3-dot
slider. Yeah, 3-dot.
Okay.
I also changed from I used to use the slide stop to send the slide home after I do a reload, but now that I'm used to this whole thing, I just rack it like.
You gotta rack it.
Yeah.
So we're gonna wind this up, but a couple things I wanted to.
I got one more thing when he was talking about that. Did you wear tactical clothes or some sort of like massive army boots and fatigues?
No. This is the only piece of tactical gear that I had, and I like I said before, I hated using it, right, for whatever reason. I wore skinny jeans, like the cheapest cheapest van shoes you could get, and then like a hiking T-shirt. That was all I wore.
So just basically simple deck shoe type of gym shoes, old-fashioned gym shoes.
Like I wore what I wear on a daily basis, and I was glad that he didn't say anything about it because, like again, what he was saying, like this is your fight, this is your life. You train with what you fight with. This is what I'm going to be walking around town with. I might as well train to be proficient with that. I ran my Raven inside the waistband holster because that's what I can still carry with in the winter, right? These principles and these techniques and stuff are applicable to me in my life and how I want to run my gun, as long as I am doing the things that allow me to run my gun effectively. Like what he came to the class with, and when he demonstrated his appendix carry and his Kydex mag pouch and stuff, he said that's what he carries on a daily basis as a low profile loadout. Like that's his life as a civilian, and I like that a lot.
Now, what was the out of every, because you mentioned earlier that you got to shoot everybody's guns and that kind of stuff, is what was the coolest firearm out there that you had a chance to shoot?
So some guy brought a Scar 17. He didn't run it through the class, but he brought it just in case, right? So I got to shoot that. That was pretty awesome. And now I definitely have to buy one, right? Nobody brought any bullpups. I really wish somebody had a Devore. I would have liked to shoot that again. Other than that, I mean, it's just mostly ARs. There's 2 AKs I shot. I shot the AK and I was like, all right, this is cool. It kicks slightly more than the AR, but other than that, it feels exactly the same.
Right.
It did not. I mean, other than canting the gun over so I could rack the charging handle, it didn't feel any different. So in terms of like shooting other people's stuff, right? Matt has a different way of looking at how he learns to shoot other people, shoot other kinds of guns, right? So he's trained, on like an AR and like a standard rifle, right? So when he approaches a new firearm, he'll look at SMB, safety and magazine bolt, how to get the gun loaded, take the safety off, and get it running. So after he does that, he'll basically take all of the odd guns and memorize exactly how to work those, right? So the AR, every AR is pretty much the same. You work the safety magazine and bolt exactly the same. The AK as well, right? But like if it's like an MP5 or like an M1 Garand or some other random firearm that he's not used to using, he'll figure out how to work the safety magazine bolt for that and then memorize that. That way he's only memorizing 10 different styles of rifles instead of trying to memorize for every single gun, like every single brand and manufacturer and that kind of thing. Which I thought was pretty cool. So you memorize the odd ones, and then everything else is exactly the same. He's very big on consistency and doing things like exactly the same, which is why he treats the carbine as a very long pistol. So same muzzle up, and he does his manipulations up here with a carbine and everything.
I'm fascinated by the shooting everybody else's gun thing. So did you say it was like just a orientation type of familiarization thing, like an exercise, and 15 minutes later it was over? Or was it like part of the curriculum where you would run an entire drill or stage or something with somebody else's gun?
No, it was the very last thing we did. We spent probably 15-20 minutes we just laid everybody's guns out in the line, and just everybody would take turns and walk behind each gun and just pick it up and shoot it. So I got to shoot, I got to shoot my Glock. I got to shoot a Glock 23, a couple SIGs, an H&K 45, like all these other types of pistols, but they felt exactly the same because I was doing full trigger pull every single time. I wasn't shooting off the reset. To me, it just felt like any other gun, which is
what did it feel?
Way up.
What did it feel like having a bunch of other people shoot your gun? Did it bug you at all?
No.
What about that Nighthawk? You said you shot that one?
Yeah, he tossed he like set his Nighthawk on the gravel and was like, all right, people can come up and shoot it, and people got to shoot it. It was pretty cool.
Had you shot other 1911s before?
Yeah, I shot a Springfield TRP.
So
that was that was only. I shot a Springfield TRP and a range officer.
So those are nice ones. How did you like them compared to the Nighthawk? Was there any noticeable difference?
I feel like the TRP and the Nighthawk felt very similar. I guess the Nighthawk probably has a little bit more fit and finish, but other than that, firing them felt exactly the same. Yeah, when the owner of Nighthawk gave Matt the gun, he was like, just use it, right? Don't like baby it. So Matt doesn't like bother with like being ginger with it. He'll like set it down the gravel and not care if it gets like any too scratched up or anything. Like, yeah.
Are you going to take that raindrop class?
Yes.
And then there's no firearms in that class, right?
No firearms.
Wow. And how many days is that?
Not sure. It's like it can be. He said it can. I think on the website it can be like 1 or multiple days, something like that.
Yeah, that sounds wicked cool. Did he go into any of that stuff during your class or no?
No, not really. He said the schedule for next year should be come out within the next 1 or 2 months. It's all dependent on his DoD schedule, which is usually gets delayed.
That sounds cool.
Yeah. Which I think is awesome that even though he teaches 40 weeks out of the year, he'll still come back and teach us civilians the same shit that he's teaching the other guys.
You say you were shooting through the windshield. Did you guys see a lot of deviation from like coming out of the windshield, the bullets not hitting the targets or what?
Yeah.
Did you guys go over that already?
Yeah, we went over that. He said basically, I mean, he was telling us like, there's no set formula for what a bullet's going to do when it hits the windshield because it's glass, laminate glass. It's going to, he's like, if a wind can deflect the bullet, glass, laminate glass will deflect the bullet a lot more. There's no set formula about how, if I'm this close to my target and it's over here and I'm carrying this specific round, I should do a 10-degree angle or anything like that. He's just like, put your front sight on the target and just shoot. Because eventually you'll make a hole. You'll eventually make a hole. He called it a port. You'll make a hole in the glass, and as long as you're keeping your front sight on the same point of aim, you'll eventually punch through.
That's a good point.
I experienced that too, because when he allowed me to be the first one to shoot through the windshield on one of the cars, and first couple rounds I shot went like here, and there. You could see the dust kick up behind the steel target as I was shooting it for the first couple rounds. So yeah, that was very cool. But I brought the GoPro to record it, and I forgot to turn the GoPro on because I was so excited to shoot through the windshield to be the first one. So I posted the video on YouTube of me shooting through, but it was through a windshield that had already been shot through. And he's also cool because he. So when they got the junk cars, right? The car had obviously one of the cars had obviously wrapped around a pole, so like the front end of the car was like dented in like in a triangle kind of way. So they were trying to take a sledgehammer to bash down the hood of the car so people could see over it and see through the windshield to the target. So he did that like the first day, and like the second day I was like, "Yo, Matt, you got that sledgehammer?" He's like, "Why?" I was like, "I've always wanted to hit a car with a sledgehammer." And he's like, I have a very high threshold for saying no. He's like, "All right, we'll get it." So I got GoPro footage of me just bashing it with a sledgehammer for about a minute, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. Yeah.
Well, man, that was awesome. I appreciate you taking time to answer all our questions, and I mean, I think it sounds like a really cool class, really good instructor. So.
Yeah, man. I mean, I highly recommend people take that class. Like, you don't know what you're missing until you actually take a class like that from him. Like, his teaching style is very different from what I've seen anybody else. It's the guy. One of the.
Is that him or me?
I think Daniel cut out because we're all still here.
Okay.
Oh yeah, sorry. I was talking to one of the classmates, and he was saying like how Graham's style is like deceptively effective, and it messes with your mind kind of way. It runs deep. It's pretty good.
Well, man, I appreciate everybody tuning in. I think I'm gonna wind it up here. G-Webs. I mean, I know me personally. I do my little thing for 9/11. But what did you want to get out there for the people that are watching?
I don't know. Just anybody that might be listening today. Just keep in mind that it's this week. I don't know. I think it's
13th year anniversary.
I don't know if the anniversary means anything, but just with as much political or international stuff that's been going on, I just figure it's worth filling the tank of gas before anything, getting a couple extra bottles of water.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. But I like to. I mean, as always, I mean, this is 13 years later, but keep everybody in your thoughts, and I mean, it was the most horrific event in our history, so that's something to be said for that. But anyway, I appreciate everybody tuning in. Thanks, guys, for everybody that showed up on the panel. Daniel, thanks for all the great info.
No problem.
So you have some of your videos up of your training?
Yeah.
What's your channel, or where can they find your videos for the training?
I'll put my channel thing in the chat. But yeah, take his class, because you can only get these patches when you take his class. He doesn't sell them or give them out. They're only to his classmates. And then you get like a certificate with a little candle wax and his crest and stamped in there.
I was going to ask, does everyone get the certificate, or do you have to pass a qualification to get it?
Nope, everybody. Well, the only way you would not get the certificate is if you got kicked out for making gross range safety errors, like something something really bad. That's pretty much what he said.
Shooting his foot or yours.
Yeah. So, I mean, they said they've only had to do it to one guy because he couldn't understand or get through his head the safety stuff or whatever, and then apparently he came back later after he worked on it and then ran through the class just fine. So they haven't really had any real problems, which speaks wonders to like how they approach range safety and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, that's it, guys. I'm gonna shut this one down. Go over to Gun Channels. I'm sure there'll be a lobby running there. But again, thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.